Hey everyone, I'm Phil Merrill. I'm a Christian, husband, father, and licensed therapist. This podcast is a place to share things I've learned about relationships in the hope that it might provide some value to you. These are my own thoughts and ideas and things that have worked for me and are not a substitute for therapy. So welcome back to Joinery Therapy Podcast, a place where we help you in your relationships. Today we're going to go over 2 posts from Reddit Relationship Advice. Jumping right in, the first one, my fiance is mad at me for an outfit I wore to a baby shower. He said it was inappropriate. So we have a female who's 27 and a male who is 30. This is written from the female perspective. My fiance is mad at me for wearing a short dress that showed my cleavage to my friend's baby shower. He found out because my friends posted pictures of me on their Instagram. Everyone thought it was cute, but he said I looked like a cheap blank and what I wore was inappropriate. I didn't say anything because it really hurt my feelings and I wanted to just move past it, but it's been a couple days and he's still upset about it. He makes comments that I need to cover up before I go out. I can show you the pictures if that helps with the advice, but how do I make things better? ? Top comment. Why are you marrying someone who speaks to you that way? You make things better by choosing to respect yourself enough to want better for yourself. Thank you. Next comment. I genuinely don't care what the dress looked like. That's such a hurtful thing to say and so unnecessary. If he was really uncomfortable with what she wore, he could have said that. But he gets no say in what she wears. Really, the only time you should make a comment on how someone is dressed is a positive one or if there's a malfunction of some sort. Next comment. You can't make things better with a man like this. First, it's your clothes, then it'll be your friends, and finally your family. You can make things better for yourself by leaving. Okay. I want you, if you're listening to this or watching this, I want you to think of yourself as a translator. That's honestly what I do so often in my job, is I'm translating for people. And let me give you an example. This 30-year-old man, and I'm not saying he did the right thing here, but there is a message that he has. He says, what does this say? Was mad for wearing this dress and looked like a cheap blank and what you wore is inappropriate. Okay, now that's not okay language. But the message that he's saying, if we translate it, is, hey, honey, I'm feeling insecure about the way you dress. I'm not feeling secure in our relationship and our connection. And I don't know how to share that with you. And the easiest emotion that I can access as a man is anger. And so what's going to come across is me attacking you and having you question that you did something wrong, when in reality, this is me feeling insecure. And what I need from you is understanding and comfort. And I need you to just validate. And what that could look like is, oh, I could see how you might feel uncomfortable with a clothing that shows cleavage, that someone else could potentially find desirable and maybe stare at my body in a way that you're uncomfortable with. But you're getting into some really deep, vulnerable stuff. And that always makes it tough, especially when we don't have the tools, we don't have the language. What I'm seeing in this story, in this scenario, is a lack of tools, a lack of relationship skills. And too often it's sad as the internet says, oh, just leave him. Just leave him. Just move on. Then, I mean, of course, that's an option, and I don't know the rest of your relationship. Maybe there are other red flags. Obviously, like if someone is physical with you, if someone is taking your car keys or controlling who you speak to or spend time with, that's never okay. That's a dysfunctional behavior. But a comment like this, while agreed, I would feel defensive too at first. I think an appropriate response is, I'm having trouble getting your message right now because it feels like you're attacking me, but I care about you and I do genuinely want to know what it's like for you. Are you feeling threatened by my clothing? Do you see the difference there? The problem is we don't ever really see that modeled. And then there's an opportunity for connection because the poster, what you're saying is, your feelings are hurt. and you just want to move past it. And so what you're saying is, I feel threatened by your comment. I feel disconnected from you, and I wonder what I could have done to make you mad. And I don't like that feeling, and I don't know how to talk with you about it. So I'm hoping that it just goes away. But it hasn't gone away, and I feel stuck and confused. If you're familiar with attachment theory, it's the two primary things that we find are avoidant and anxious. And I don't like that term anxious because people think anxiety, but really like withdrawers and pursuers. Withdrawers go, conflict is scary and bad, and I need to get out of it as soon as possible. And pursuers go, conflict is me needing to be seen and understood. And if I can't do that, I'm going to keep coming to you and make myself known and bigger until you get it. And if you think about it, those two feed into each other. In this case, if I had to guess, it's possible that the boyfriend, the male, is a pursuer. He's going, hey, I'm insecure with this. This isn't good. And he doesn't understand how his system is wired, and he doesn't understand how damaging comments like that can be. And in his mind, he's built up, I'm right and everyone else is wrong. And it doesn't leave room for the female, who I would guess is a withdrawer, to share, hey, this is what that was like for me. And so this is a tough one. This is, if I had to give you, poster, any advice, it would be learn some tools, learn some skills to express how you're feeling. Example, when you shared with me, I felt attacked by you, and it made it hard to understand what you were saying. I felt threatened and I felt uncomfortable, and because of that, I felt disconnected from you, and I don't like feeling disconnected from you. Can we have a conversation where we both feel supported and on the same page about what happened? So it's tough, but I'm convinced from patterns and experience in my own marriage, be a translator, figure out what's going on behind the scenes. So we're going to jump to the next one. This is a 34-year-old male, 32-year-old female, written from the 34-year-old male. He says, I'm married 4 years to my wife, 32-year-old female, no kids. I get sometimes upset / mood swings with my wife on trivial stuff, and so does my wife. We start giving each other silent treatment for a couple of days, and then things normalize on its own. Though those couple of days are hell for me, I feel worthless, unloved, whose existence doesn't matter. I feel that if I don't exist, nobody would bother. Wow. When we get normal, we are like normal, intimate couples. I wonder, is it usually how relationships are? I wonder, is someone truly happy in their relationship / marriage where there are no mood swings, not even silly fights or serious disagreements? Do these couples exist? I don't want to compare my life with others, but I'm genuinely curious to know. Top comment. No, giving each other the silent treatment for days on end isn't normal, let alone as a regular thing. You two need to talk about how to make sure that doesn't happen when you're not in the middle of a fight about something else. And if you need to call in a counselor to help you figure out how to make sure it doesn't happen, do that. Hey, that was a good positive comment for once. And then usually here, someone wants to talk about themselves. My partner and I, 3.5 years together, have disagreements but not fights. And we talk it out if one of us is upset with the other. We sometimes ask for a bit of space to process our feelings, but we never give the silent treatment. We affirm that we are annoyed / upset and don't want to be chatty or can't cuddle right now, but that we still love each other and we will work through this. And we always say goodnight with a kiss and I love you, even if things haven't resolved yet. Okay, I was a little harsh. That's actually pretty good because she's giving an example of what that could like. And then the next comment is, I've never given my husband the silent treatment. I've been in tears. I've asked him to leave the house to give me space, but I've never not spoken to him and then just carried on as normal. I think you should go to couples counseling specifically to uncover good communication techniques that work for you that enable disagreements and reconciliation. Wow. I think we can all agree, conflict is very, 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 very uncomfortable. Conflict is not pleasant. Conflict is that tightness in your chest, pit of your stomach. It's not a comfortable, enjoyable feeling. And like a normal human being, when we are presented with that feeling, we want to get rid of it as soon as we can. But by doing so, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to grow from it. Think about any other thing in life, any other skill. If you stopped when things were hard, you wouldn't get any better. Whether it was learning to walk, learning to write, learning to eat, learning to ride a bike. Imagine as soon as you felt that, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall feeling, you just stopped. And you never got used to it and learned, oh, that's what balancing is. Imagine you're learning to swim. And as soon as your head went under the water and you were like, I don't know if I can do this, you just stopped. Well, then you would drown and that would be terrible. But like you would never learn the joy of swimming. And dare I say, there can be a enjoyment of conflict when conflict is defined as two people sharing hard things, real things, vulnerable things. And so what I'm seeing in this post is this marriage is in the danger zone because we have two people that have not learned to have healthy conflict. And too many people, too many marriages out there say, well, we never fight. We never we never talk about hard things. And they think they have a healthy marriage. When in reality, you have to be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable means growth. And so if you get anything out of this post, are you willing to linger, to purposely take an extra second to stay in the discomfort, to try to get used to it, to try to learn and to try to grow? And so, for example, as soon as you start to feel conflict, you go, what is this? The sooner you notice it, the sooner you can do something about it. And I like to define conflict as the dissonance when two people need to be heard at the same time. Have you ever thought about that? Conflict is this dissonance, this tightness in your chest, pit of your stomach, wherever you feel it, when two people are needing to be heard and listened to at the same time. And it's not just in your head. There's a physiological component. Discomfort is it's physical. You can point out in your body where that feeling lives. That's why I've described your chest, your stomach. And you only notice it when it's there. When it's not there, you're like good, right? It's like you don't realize how sick you are until you get better again. You don't realize how uncomfortable you are until you're out of it. But the more in tune you are, the more aware you are, the more capable you'll be. And so the sooner you can recognize, there's that tightness. Let that be a cue. Train yourself to go, this isn't bad, but it is uncomfortable. This isn't bad, but it is uncomfortable. And then you can go, either I need to be listened to or my partner needs to be listened to. And then you can practice reflective listening, empathetic listening. You can go, I'm feeling that tightness in my chest. I have to change what I'm doing, or we're going to do the same thing we always do, and it's going to feel uncomfortable, and it's going to be negative reinforcement, and I'm never going to grow. So I need to introduce a new variable. So in that moment, when you start to feel conflict, you just shift gears, and I say just. It's hard, but it's not impossible. You always have a choice, and you go, what is the other person saying to me? And if we substitute the last example, the person's saying, you look like a blank because your dress is too short. Inside, that's conflict. That doesn't feel good to hear. But you have a choice. You can say, you think that I look like a blank because my dress is too short. Tell me more about that feeling. And even that's a super disarming thing to do. Like the other person's probably not ready for that because they're not expecting to be listened to. Otherwise, they're not fighting. People fight to be heard. And so it throws them off guard when someone actually tries to listen to them. Or like I said in the previous example, I think you're trying to share something with me, but I'm missing it. I'm not getting it the way you're sharing it. Can you try it again? Again, I'm protecting myself. You don't get to speak to me poorly or meanly, but I'm not going to fight you. Oftentimes in conflict, we find ourselves attacking or defending. And in this case of this post, both people are silent treatment. Silent treatment is defending. And in a sense, it's attacking too. It's I'm punishing you by not engaging with you, and I'm protecting myself. So it's kind of sinister. It's a little brutal. I'm not saying that you can't have some space, but an agreed upon space of like, hey, both of us we're not good right now. Let's take, I think 20 minutes is kind of a number I've heard about your nervous system being able to reset, because that's what is happening. Your nervous system is responding to this. It's fight or flight. When you're not being heard, and you need to be heard, and you need to be listened to, and you need to be comforted, and you need to be understood, and that's not happening, you start to kind of freak out a little bit. Like imagine you are, what the image I have, you're scared. You're on a roller coaster, and you're really scared, and you need to get off, and no one's letting you. Like you are feeling threatened. You're not getting what you are needing in that moment. And so you're going to fight, or you're going to freeze, or you're going to want to get away. And so in the same sense with emotional conflict, you're not getting what you need of, yeah, I hear you. Your reality is understandable. Your experience is understandable. So it's important to recognize that's happening and going, oh, my need is to be listened to. And this person across from me isn't showing that they're able to do that right now, but I don't have to continue this. I can change. I think about Rocky, right? Rocky 4, he goes, if you can change and I can change, we can change. I mean, there's a truth to that if you're listening to this, your conflict in your relationship isn't dependent on your partner. And did you ever think about that? Like this other person, say this poster, okay, their wife probably isn't going to change. She's going to give the silent treatment. He can do something different. He can say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this silent treatment. That doesn't work for me anymore. I also understand you might need some space to handle whatever doesn't feel good. So to honor that, I'm going to give us 30 minutes, and then I'm going to come check in again in 30 minutes, and I'd like to be able to talk with you. I wonder if that's ever happened before, because those days of not talking sound excruciating, and those don't go away. Those just build up. And in my world, if emotions aren't processed, if they're not shared, if they're not talked about, they don't go away. They just start to build up, and they add, and they can create depression or resentment or anxiety, because it's all these kind of messages that just get jumbled and overwhelming. So I know that's a lot of information I threw at you, but the main thing is conflict. And to speak to this specific one, yes, you can find happiness in a marriage. Yes, you can find positive conflict experiences. And what you're writing is you and your spouse over the 4 years have not found the secret to that. And as a couples therapist, one thing that I can offer is I call it like the padded room. I'm facilitating an experience where couples sit in the room and they feel that tightness in their chest and their discomfort with conflict. But I do it differently because I get to interrupt. I don't let them just keep doing that. I shock the nervous system in a sense to go like, hey, what's happening? Like, pay attention. You guys aren't fighting right now. You're sitting on a couch. You're comfortable. Sometimes I make them even hold hands. And just to sit with this, like, it's a dissonance feeling of, inside, fight or flight. I'm not happy. Something doesn't feel good. But what is the reality? Also, I'm still holding the hand of this person. And that's where perspective can be really helpful, especially in conflict, is it can come on in a moment, this discomfort, this fight or flight response. If you can pause and zoom out for a second too and go, wait, what happened this morning? What happened yesterday? Wait, yesterday was fine. We just had a lovely breakfast and it was great and we felt super connected. It's important to keep that perspective, because in the moment it's just almost can be tunnel vision and feel like it overshadows everything. And it's important to know, I'm feeling something. I'm uncomfortable. I need to be heard. I don't like this. And we're okay. We're all right. But we do need to find a new way to do this. So you'll probably hear a lot more different things about conflict. I feel like that's something I could talk about all the time. I'm still getting better at it. I'm not an expert. I mean, I am an expert, but I'm not. Like, I'm getting better at it. And it's really, really, really hard. And if you're in that situation and you're experiencing conflict, I do want to validate that for you, that it is so unpleasant. And I have to clarify, this isn't physical conflict. This isn't abuse, name calling, swearing, intense, degrading, unsafe things. You have to make a distinction. That behavior you never have to be okay with or get used to. But if it's, oh, I didn't like that, or I'm angry, or why do you do this, or that type of conflict, I would encourage you, try to linger a second longer. Try to look at it just a little bit more objectively to go, what is happening? What am I feeling? Where do I carry that in my body? What is this trying to tell me? Breathe consciously, purposely breathe. Slow it down. Zoom out, look at the perspective, and try to listen. I hear you saying this. Did I get that right? Okay. And then part of it, if you're the one taking those steps, you might also have to take off the expectation that your message is going to be heard in that conflict. Your partner might not have those skills yet or the capacity yet. That's another thing that happens. Like, again, conflicts when two people try to share their emotions at the same time. When you try to listen and do the right thing, you still might not be able to then share what you were feeling that moment. You might have to wait till the next day. I hate to say it. It's not, it's not always fair, but it is a better way. Again, that's been my own experience in my own marriage. I've seen it work. I've seen it work with clients. It takes behavior changes. It takes an awareness. It takes some tools. And I hope that by listening to this and watching this, you can chew on some of these ideas, think about them, and again, improve your own relationships. No one should have to suffer in the silent treatment. And just, I'll share this. For a long time in my life, I wore this identity that I am just bad at conflict. I just sort of, for some reason, I accepted this idea, this label, that this is who I am. I am just wired to be bad at conflict. And no one challenged that. And I didn't challenge that for a long time until I realized my discomfort with conflict does my clients a disservice, because I'm not providing a safe place for them if I'm not feeling okay. And I'm not helping my spouse feel comfortable. As a man, I want to be a protector. I want to be a provider. What does it mean to be a protector and a provider of her emotional space? We don't talk about that a lot as men, but one way I can do that, I can protect her emotional space by being comfortable with my own. That way, if she's feeling a lot and she's hurting, I can listen to her. I can protect that space and be okay. So I had to get good at conflict. I had to grow. The flip side of that, if I don't get better at conflict, my relationships will suffer. I'm going to say that again. If I don't get better at conflict, my relationships will suffer. They will forever be capped, because conflict is necessary and good to be able to grow in connection and vulnerability and intimacy. And then just like everything else, the more you do it, the more experience that you have, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you get, the less scary it is, the more depth, the more experience, the more connection, the more trust. And I want that for you. Thanks for watching and listening.